Who are you? Why do you look like me?
This is a waste of time. Walk away before you get hurt.
Amy Rose finally made her live-action debut in the Sonic movie universe during the mid-credit scene of the Sonic the Hedgehog 3, and that short moment instantly raised expectations for what Sonic the Hedgehog 4 needs to deliver next. She's been one of the most loved characters in the Sonic franchise for years, so her arrival isn't just another character addition, it fills a big gap that fans have been noticing since the first movie. Because the fourth film is already expected to juggle a bunch of major characters and threats, Amy needs to stand out right away even though she's technically arriving later than Tails and Knuckles did. Her introduction was bold and stylish, so the sequel has to match that same energy instead of dialing it back. In that mid-credit scene, Sonic is suddenly overwhelmed by a whole squad of metal Sonics in the forest, and the situation turns dangerous fast. It looks like he's cornered, and the metal Sonics are clearly being set up as a serious new threat going forward. But then Amy shows up out of nowhere, disguised with a hood, and takes them down with total confidence using her hammer. The moment works so well because it shows her strength, her timing, and her fearlessness all at once. Sonic doesn't even know who she is yet, but it's obvious she's going to matter a lot in the next chapter. Because of how clean and controlled her entrance is, it immediately frames her as capable instead of comic relief. Her arrival also felt inevitable in a way because once Tails and Knuckles were introduced, Amy was the most important core character still missing. She isn't just another side figure, she's traditionally the main female lead across Sonic stories, games, and shows. So even though the movies worked without her at first, there was always something slightly incomplete about Team Sonic not having her presence. Now that she's here, the movies have a chance to build a more balanced team dynamic. But that only works if Sonic 4 treats her like a top-tier hero instead of just a supporting extra. One thing Sonic the Hedgehog 4 absolutely needs to preserve is how cool Amy looked in that first scene. She wasn't panicked, she wasn't confused, and she didn't need saving. She handled the metal Sonics like it was routine work, which tells the audience she has experience and skill. Because her hammer fighting style is different from Sonic's speed, Knuckles' power, and Tails' tech abilities, it gives the team more variety in how action scenes can play out. So the sequel should lean into that difference instead of smoothing it out. Let her fight her way, solve problem her way, and bring her own rhythm to the group. There are also growing theories that the movie version of Amy might be connected to the future timeline. That idea keeps popping up because of how prepared she seemed when she arrived. She didn't act surprised by the Metal Sonics, and she went straight into combat mode. If she really is from the future, it would explain her confidence and give her a strong story purpose right away. Because time travel elements have shown up in Sonic stories before, it wouldn't feel out of place. It would also guarantee that she's not just along for the ride, but directly tied to the main conflict. Confidence in the filmmakers is higher now than it was after the first Sonic movie, mainly because the trilogy has shown it can adjust and improve. Some fans felt that Tails didn't get enough to do when he first appeared, even though his post-credits tease created big expectations. But the third movie corrected that by giving him more meaningful involvement. The same pattern showed up with Shadow. He was teased first, and then the next movie centered heavily on him. Because the series has already demonstrated that it listens and course corrects, it's easier to believe Amy will be handled properly in Sonic 4. Her intro scene is already being talked about as one of the strongest character debuts in the whole movie series so far. It's short, but it's punchy and memorable, and it instantly builds curiosity. Because first impressions matter a lot in big franchises, starting her off with a powerful entrance gives the writers momentum instead of pressure. Now, the job is to build on that instead of repeating it. She shouldn't just get one great moment, she should get a bunch of them spread through the next film. At the same time, there's been a lot of discussion in the Sonic community about side characters getting more spotlight overall, not just Amy. The last couple of years have been especially strong for Shadow fans because he's been featured heavily across games and film. Reports that Sega filed a new trademark related to Shadow the Hedgehog sparked talk that he might receive another solo game or a remake of his earlier spin-off. Because companies usually protect names when planning projects, people see that filing as a possible signal rather than random paperwork. If Shadow really is getting new solo content, it could open the door for other major side characters to headline their own games too. The franchise has already shown more willingness to branch out, especially with projects like Shadow Generations and character-focused DLC expansions. So instead of everything revolving only around Sonic, the universe is starting to feel more shared. That shift makes it easier to imagine characters like Amy and others getting deeper involvement across media. One character who keeps coming up in these conversations is Blaze the Cat, because she has a strong fan following but hasn't been used much lately. She first appeared back in 2005 in Sonic Rush, and she stood out right away because she wasn't from Sonic's dimension at all. She's a princess and guardian in her own reality, and she uses fire powers connected to the Soul Emeralds instead of the Chaos Emeralds. That origin alone makes her different from most rivals and allies. Because she comes from another dimension, her stories naturally feel larger in scope. Blaze started off distant and cautious around Sonic, but she gradually built trust and friendship, which gave her character a solid emotional arc. She returned in Sonic Rush's sequel and showed up in a few other titles, although sometimes continuity got messy. Even though she made a 3D appearance during the Sonic 2006 era, that game's story confusion caused debate among fans, which unfortunately affected how her role was received. After that, her appearances became more limited. In more recent mainline Sonic games, Blaze has mostly been pushed to the sidelines. She shows up for cameos or spin-off racers, but she rarely plays a central role in big narrative entries. Because of that, many fans feel she's overdue for a proper solo project. She brings royal responsibility, elemental powers, and interdimensional stakes, which is a strong base for a standalone story. A Blaze-focused game could explore her world in detail instead of just referencing it. Her home setting, often called the Soul Dimension, is one of the least explored parts of Sonic lore. We know it exists and has its own emerald system and threats, but we've barely seen it beyond a couple of games. So a dedicated title set fully there could expand the Sonic multiverse in a meaningful way. It would also let Blaze grow beyond her guest character status. Because she carries leadership duties in her world, a game centered on her would naturally include political stakes, defense of her realm, and power balance themes. All of this connects back to the movies too, because as the Sonic film universe grows, character depth matters more. Sonic 4 introducing Amy properly, while the broader franchise lifts up characters like Shadow and Blaze, creates a stronger overall ecosystem. Although Sonic will always remain the main star, the supporting cast is becoming more important with each new project. That trend is already visible through playable side campaigns and character-driven expansions. So when looking at Amy Rose's live-action arrival, it feels like part of a bigger shift instead of a one-off surprise. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.